Good morning, Giants. I'm going to talk about something I had a wake up call on this morning, which is fear and how it shows up. We talk about fear and some of the responses to fear, the fight or flight responses, the adrenaline shots that we get, and how those show up, the fight or flight, the freeze, the fawn, or the faint, right? But let's talk about the more obscure types of fear that show up that we don't always recognize as fear. But let me tell you, they are absolutely fear. And when you can understand this, you can combat it and you can start to shift it and grow from it. But understanding these aspects or these facets of fear, that at a fundamental level, they are all fear. Understanding this helps you to jump back into treating fear and asking yourself, what is it that I'm afraid of? And from there, you can re-engage with your life. And I'll give you some tools to do that. So some of the items that you'll see that may not appear as fear, but are underlying, would be jealousy, insecurity, anger, lack of trust. These are all things that show up in our lives and we start to get angry or controlling. Control is a sense of fear. And so in a case, I had a friend of mine who did a post the other day. He was out on 40 acres of land and he got text messages while he was riding his horse, and you know who you are. He was riding his horse and he got text messages saying how shameful of a person he was for riding his horse in a situation like this. He's on 40 acres of land, way away from any other human contact with his family. What occurred is that person that texted, instead of recognizing that maybe they're afraid and saying, hey, I'm concerned, they sent it out in the form of shame and a controlling behavior, which really is off-putting and kills relationships. And so as you think about it, insecurity, unsafe. If I feel insecure, I feel unsafe. And so that means that I have a fear around feeling safe around who I am and maybe who I'm associating with. So insecure. Trust. When we trust people, we don't worry about the outcome. We have confidence that it will turn out the way that we want. When we don't trust people, we absolutely worry about the outcome. And so we have some controlling behaviors around how we let them move forward. In conversations, recognizing that there might be, for me, I look at it, with my anxieties, I notice right off the bat, I get concerned about people's agendas when I get a message from them. Like, what is the agenda behind this? Sometimes it feels like that, but sometimes it's unnecessary. Like, it's unfair to that person to think that they have an agenda. That's a lack of trust, which goes back to fear. And so it comes back to this foundation of, what am I afraid of? I woke up in this space this morning. I messaged a friend, and the concern that I had was that there was an agenda. And in doing that, I hurt that friendship this morning. I'm not immune to this, guys. I struggle with things, looking at a lack of trust or control or lack of confidence or anger. All these things indicate that there's something deeper, and usually it's fear. And so as you look at what's occurring in the world, there is a ton of fear right now, and that fear can show up in the form of lack of trust, of manipulation. It can show up in the form of jealousy. It can show up in the form of control. All these things indicate that fear is underlying. And so when these appear in your life, if you notice that you're doing any of these behaviors, this goes beyond thinking of fight or flight, fear, freezing, fawning, or fainting. It goes beyond that. These are things we don't recognize as fear. So control, lack of trust, anger, jealousy, insecurity, all these are fears that we have. And so when we recognize that at the foundation of it, it's fear, then from there we can tackle the fear. And fear is something that we can use to grow from. It's powerful. It can actually have us do things that we normally wouldn't do. And so it can drive us to take action. but recognizing the action we want to take rather than jumping into one of these areas like lack of trust or control. Rather than putting the energy into that, we can redirect it and put that energy into something that we want to grow. Just think about that. So here's the question I would ask. If you're feeling any of those sensations, I would ask, what am I afraid of? And once you recognize what you're afraid of, then you can create a path out of that. Once you recognize that you're afraid of losing somebody or losing money or having somebody control you or manipulate you or any of those things, as soon as you can recognize that, you can really step back from the situation and look at it for what it is and create a game plan from there. Gather all the information rather than acting from the emotions and make the best decision for the situation. And so this hits home for me. This is the reason I want to talk about it. A lot of the things that I talk about, I'm trying to discover in myself how to cure these things. And I want to share those with you as I learn them. And so recognizing a lack of trust, insecurity, control, jealousy, all these things are just fear. Then from there you can ask what you're afraid of. And then from there you can diffuse it. You can allow it to be present. You can stand firm and look for all of the information, and then you can re-engage with what it is you really want to create rather than running from the situation or making a mess of it by being controlling, by being jealous, by being untrusting, by doing all these behaviors that take us away from cleaning up the mess. So hopefully that's helpful today. Recognize the other forms of fear and when you're doing them, and then take action out of them. So I hope you guys go out and create a great day today, and I'll talk to you on the next video.